What is going on, everybody? We are here in the parking lot of Charlotte Motor Speedway with this 2010 Rocker C. This is a rare bike that you rarely get your hands on because they only made it for a limited amount of time. But let's talk about it and go for a ride. Okay, so let's talk about a few of the specs on this motorcycle. This motorcycle comes with the V-twin twin cam 96B motor, putting out 92 foot-pounds of torque. You've got a wet weight of 717 pounds. You got a 19-inch wheel up front with a 90 tire on it, and you've got this massive 18-inch tire on the rear with a 240. This bike has plenty of chrome all over it, and it looks like it's been upgraded with some straight shots. You got your speedometer right here that is floating above the gas tank. This one actually has an aftermarket seat on it, and the original Rocker seat, you could pull it up and flip out a passenger seat for it. I don't think this one has it, but as you can see, the Rocker seat kind of looks like it's floating as it's not touching that rear fender. Another thing you'll notice is how raked out this motorcycle is, and it's got that huge rear tire and that thin front tire. I wonder how it's going to ride, or I already know. Comment down below if you've ridden one before. This one's been upgraded with LED lighting. You see you got the LED headlight, LED turn signals. So my initial thoughts upon just looking at the bike is it looks like a factory chopper. But let's get out here on the road and see how it rides. Okay, let's get her cranked up. That exhaust on this bike actually sounds pretty good. Hopefully it's picking up through the camera. All right, let's go. So I personally feel like there's a love-hate relationship when it comes to the Rocker C. And what I mean by that is either you love it or you hate it. There's not a lot of people in between that are like, it's an okay bike, you know, I like it. It's either you love this bike or you hate this bike, unless you're me. And I feel like the people who love this bike just understand what this bike was designed for, and they like the styling of it. And the people who dislike this bike, it usually has to do with the way the bike rides. This bike does not ride like your traditional Harley-Davidson. I mean, you got that raked out front. I don't know if it's more raked out than a Breakout or some of those other bikes, but it definitely feels like it. I mean, that 90 width tire in the front with a 240 on the rear, I mean, that's quite a difference. And I don't know if that's why it feels different when you're riding this motorcycle. But the problem is, a lot of people have to understand that there's so many different type of bikes and they're all designed for different purposes. This bike ain't designed for aggressive riding. It ain't designed for canyon carving. It's not designed for getting out there and going balls to the wall. It's designed for cruising and getting some looks. It's a head turner. That's what it is. But I will have to say, it's a 96 cubic inch motor and it sounds good. Woo! Yeah, that thing sounds good. Harley-Davidsons are naturally torquey motorcycles, so you're going to get that low end torque out of this bike no matter what. So you've got that acceleration going for you. Now, when I say acceleration, you're going to get those people that are on sport bikes or performance cruisers that's like, oh no, Harleys are slow. I'm not talking about sport bike acceleration. I'm talking about low down, grunty, torquey Harley-Davidson acceleration. It's going to give you that. Another thing you're going to get with this bike is it's actually a smooth ride. Now, the seat I'm sitting on, I think it's an aftermarket seat, and I'm not going to lie, this seat ain't comfortable. It feels like there's literally a bulge right where my balls at. So it's like a bulge on my balls. Like, that's not the business. Maybe this seat was designed for the ladies, but it ain't designed for me. I'm not feeling that bulge right there. But overall, the suspension on it feels good because it's on the soft tail platform. So you got a mono shock in the rear, you got your 2 shocks up front, and it's a smooth ride. Like, I'm not feeling these imperfections in the road as I'm going over the bumps. And think about it, this is like a 14-year-old motorcycle. This is a 2010. Now, because I ride so many different motorcycles, I understand that they're all going to ride different. So I don't hold the way a bike rides completely against it. I do to a certain extent. But when I know what a bike was designed for, I understand why it rides this way. It's because they sacrificed some of that maneuverability and rideability for the look of the motorcycle. But everyone doesn't understand that. They feel like you're supposed to get it all. You're supposed to get a stylish bike, a chopper style bike that's going to ride perfect. You know, maybe there's some of those out there now, but back in 2010, you know, they had to make some sacrifices to design this bike, and I feel like they did a good job with the design. Do I like the way it rides? Absolutely not. This is not my favorite ride in Harley-Davidson. Would I ride it? Yeah, I'll ride anything. I don't care. If it's got 2 wheels, put me on it. That's my saying. That thing sounds good though. You can tell they designed this bike to be stylish. I mean, what other bike has like this? It looks like the Speedo is floating almost, and the rear seat is floating as well. Now, I'm 6 feet tall, so I do like the forward controls. The bike has the forwards on it, so it's comfortable for my legs. They're stretched out. The bar height is a little low than where I would prefer it. I prefer a taller bar, but I feel like with a I feel like if the bars were taller, it might ride even worse than it rides now. And it doesn't ride bad, it just maneuvers funky. That's what I'm gonna say. It's not that it rides like shit, because the motor is solid. You're getting a smooth roll on. The suspension feels good, but it just rides funny, like funky a little bit. But that's because of the raked out front end with that super skinny tire up front. Like, kind of like how a wide glide rides a little funky as well, in my opinion. This one rides more funky than a wide glide, but it may be due to the massive difference in the width of the front and the rear tire. I don't know. But when you're in a straight line, you don't notice that. The bike feels like a Harley-Davidson, rides like a Harley-Davidson. It's a Harley-Davidson. Like, it feels good right now. It just, when it comes to like turning corners and dipping down into a corner, it's just something doesn't feel right when it comes to these. While I've been out here, like on the way up to the speedway, I got quite a few looks. People definitely look at this motorcycle because it's a looker. It's a rare bike. There's not a lot of them on the road. Harley-Davidson didn't make it for an extended period of time. So when people see one, they're wondering what the hell it is. That sounds good. Now, I can maneuver the bike perfectly fine. Does it feel weird maneuvering? Yeah, just a little bit. But I can do U-turns on this bike. I can dip it in a corner if I want to. But that's all based off your riding experience. And my job is to ride motorcycles, so I do this all day long. So nah, I did not have enough lower lumbar support there. I felt my butt slide away from my ball hump, and I was almost flying off the back of the seat. And the seat ain't sitting on the fender, so I feel like that would have sucked. I would have felt a hard bunk as I slid back and fell onto that fender. But as you can see, it takes the corners perfectly fine. It accelerates like a Harley should, and I don't feel any of these imperfections in the road. That's a solid bike to me. I am catching quite a bit of wind, but this is a non-fairing motorcycle, and if you throw a fairing on here, you're an idiot, because it's going to destroy the look of this bike, completely destroy it. This bike does not need a fairing. You don't want no fairing on here. So if you're someone who just likes a really stylish motorcycle that looks good, is going to catch eyes, that's very rare because they didn't make them but for so long, and you don't mind feeling that wind, then this might be a nice bike for you, especially if you're comfortable with getting used to how this bike maneuvers. I think the problem is when people first ride it and they're used to how other motorcycles ride, and they get on here, they're like, oh, that handles horribly. But think about it, if you own it and you're riding it all the time, you're going to be used to how it handles, and that's not going to affect you at all. You're just going to have a badass looking cruiser. I feel like this, out of all the bikes, I know a lot of people say like the V-Rod was Harley-Davidson's red-headed stepchild, and there's a bunch of other ones they say. This right here is definitely the red-headed stepchild. So on a scale of 1 to 10, would I own this motorcycle? Based off the way that I ride my motorcycles, I would probably give this like a 3 or 4. It's down there in the lower end. And that's strictly because the way this bike rides isn't the way that I ride. Do I like the way this bike looks? Yes. I think it's extremely stylish. I love the way it looks, actually. Can I ride it? If someone dropped it at my house and was like, hey, you can have this bike for a couple weeks, go out and ride it and have fun. Hell yeah, I'd do it all day. But would I physically buy one and put it in my garage over some of the other bikes that I like? No, probably not. Actually, I look kind of cool on that bike. Now I'm looking in the window. Maybe I'll give it a 4. I look kind of sexy on there. My little chicken legs hanging out, swinging around. Should have did a photo shoot of myself while I was out there. Alright, we got her back where she belongs, in the pre-owned lineup. Now there was another bike that just hit the showroom floor that I wanted to bring out today and ride, but these are so rare and you don't come across them so often. I decided to bring this out and give y'all my thoughts on it. Feel like it's a great motorcycle, good suspension, rides good. It's just due to the way it's raked out for that look and that design of it, it just rides a little funky. So go out, ride one, and make your own impressions on it, because some people love the way this bike rides. There's people who love the rocker seat. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. So like I said in the beginning of the video, you either love it or you hate it. I'm right in the middle. I don't love or hate the bike. I mean, the bike rides good, but it doesn't ride the way it rides does not coincide with how I ride my motorcycle. But the styling of it, I mean, that's a badass bike. Make sure you subscribe to the channel though. Like and comment down below. Oh, you see this? You see this right here? That right there, yeah, that was the ball pusher. That was like pushing up on the nuts. It ain't feel too good. But make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, share the video, all that good stuff. Hit that bell notification, and I'll see y'all in that next one.